Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get into our next module. Our next module is manipulating strings. One thing about this course is, and the way it's designed is, it's a 300 level course, but you're learning PHP for the first time, but you already know how to program. You know what strings are and stuff like that. So a lot of the time that I'm going to be talking about PowerPoints, I'm not going to really, it's going to be more of a flash PowerPoint, and we're going to be getting in and doing hands-on. So don't freak out. It's not going to be a whole video PowerPoint. We're going to hit the main parts of the chapter and talk about some of the main things that you have to be aware of. Let's go ahead and get into that, and then we'll get into the main thing, which is regular expressions for this chapter. A few things on constructing strings with PHP is one thing that they do different, and we kind of talked about how the way the language is built. By the way, you can do echo the same as print and echo. But anyways, it's designed so the language, you can use language to write other code, and a lot of that is built in part of the language and why it's used so often. And the way they actually do a string concatenation is not with the plus operator, because when you think about it, if you're writing a program that writes code, what's one of the main operators that you use quite often, and that is the plus operator. So there are times where an interpreter or a compiler will have issues on confusion going between the two. So we have the dot operator to actually concatenate and add two strings. So just in your mind, you can just put the plus there instead, and it's the same thing. There isn't much difference. It behaves the way you would, essentially the way that all other concatenation programs work. Libraries work. So we got your usual things, but here's where things change to get into more of a more important component, and that is when you're dealing with like query strings and and also you will be getting information that may have, or sending information where you may need to encode or decode special characters. So essentially, if you need an idea of a special characters, if you're sending information like, say, a space between characters, just like the space between this N and the F. If you're sending that space, we need to actually, because a space is a natural delimiter. So when you encode that space, it'll turn to like I think it's a %20 or something like that. But in any case, what it does is it allows you to take information through the query string and encode, decode the information and send it back and forth. Of course, if you're using JSON, JavaScript object notation, and the newer technology other than query strings, such as the forms-based stuff that in JavaScript, you wouldn't need this as much. Well, maybe, but actually, this is actually something you will use a lot for multiple different purposes. So this the ability to encode and decode strings to handle the special characters that HTML has is a very important step. And one, you may not kind of understand what I'm talking about now, but when we use it in context later on in the chapter, you guys will kind of get it, because it really has to be talked about with an example. So just keep this in the back of your head, that these two functions are important, and you will be seeing them again and working with them to encode and decode query string information or just HTML special characters. Okay, so one other thing that I want to kind of get into last is oh, not last, but before the last thing is, well, look at the comparison, string comparison. Understand how that works. It's just old school string comp or string compare. String comp, yeah. It works just like C base languages. Okay, so that's stuff that you already know, and a lot of that stuff you've already worked with. You can see how things are kind of worked with and used in context here. If we've got, the book refers to the echo, and you can see how we are mixing escape sequences here. Escape sequences are important when you're working with what we're doing, and PHP has the common C-based escape sequences, and they actually have a list in here. I think I might have went past them, or they might come up later on in the PowerPoint. Oh, there it is. Okay, so those are your escape sequences that you're going to be working with. So you'll see a lot of those in your outputs for when you print HTML, and you'll see the dots that will add them together, and most of everything that you have working within here, such is essentially pretty well standard. Now, one thing you may not have really spent a lot of time on for this particular, or for on anything actually yet, because you really haven't had the need for it, is regular expressions. Here's a string toke that'll work like a split function to tokenize, so you can get say a sentence, and you want the words. You just want the words in the sentence. You send it the sentence and what you want to separate, such as a character array of like space, comma, or something to separate those words, or use to separate the words, and then you get the array. So that string tokenize function is just pretty much like we call them tokens, the split function in other languages. Okay, so the regular expressions is not something you spent a lot of time on yet. And here's the idea: is that with the main thing of regular expressions and why they're important is because it's more abstract. So if we can solve a problem by design and being abstract, we can solve multiple different types of problems in different ways, and that's one reasons for regular expressions. And basically what we use it for, what cybersecurity people use it for, and IT specialists use it, and what we are going to use it for is password validation. Not authentication, validation, meaning that when you create a password for a particular organization, or let's say that you're building a password creation routine using PHP, and you have a specific rule set for those passwords that your user who's signing up for your portal website as a user, that you're going to put their username and password in your database, that's where you decide on what particular characters are acceptable for your password string. And everybody's kind of different, but here's kind of the good news about regular expressions is it's already been done. You're going to go out there and you're going to find regular expressions that have been built for you to use, and have been tested and are known to work. And you can also become an expert on regular expressions and become part of that community if that's something that really interests you. What we're looking for is kind of a cursory understanding of regular expressions and knowing that they're the proper way to validate passwords. And also, one other thing about regular expressions is if there is, let's say, a new routine needed for specific passwords, and they have to be formatted a certain way because of there may be a specific threat for that organization, and they're finding that users that are allowed too much leeway on their password selections are getting targeted, and that's where they're finding their holes or security holes. So depending on where you're actually working and whatnot, the more important this is. So we're going to go ahead and just do a cursory glance at it and look at the functions. The patterns, I'm not going to get too deep into the patterns. That's something that you guys can do on your own and study up on, because I don't want to spend all day talking about stupid regular expressions when I want to actually get in and use them. So we're going to go in and get hands-on in 3-1 and do it together, and we'll see. We'll implement a regular expression as part of that. I believe that's your 3-1 assignment. So you got these different functions. You got your match function that looks for a particular match for pattern, and then you got some other functions that you can use for support. But the main function that matters is the first one, perform or search for a matching pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the input from your user that's going to be creating a new login password for your portal, your website, your own mini Facebook, or whatever you want, and you will match what the user actually inserts at the string with a pattern that you dictate that has been dictated by either research that you've done on good regular expressions for passwords, or it's been one designed for you and your company specifically, or designed by you and your company specifically for your use. So we're gonna play with that pattern and string. And that is kind of the main, those three main points that I talked about so far for this chapter. And go ahead and get yourself a match it, or kind of a good understanding of regular expressions. And again, you do not have to master them. However, you will have quizzes coming, so do your best on being prepared for those quizzes. But for now, let's go ahead and before you fall asleep, let's go ahead and get in and have some fun. So I'm gonna pause the video, and then we're gonna go in and we're gonna do 3-1 together. So I'll be right back. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on this. We're going to go ahead and do the 3-1. Here it is on our web browser, and I'm going to go ahead and every demo I do for you, I'm going to start cold, and the reason for that is I'm going to make mistakes, and actually that's a good thing, because the mistakes I make are going to be part of the same mistakes you make, and also it's a good learning opportunity, and it's also a good way for you guys to see how I overcome those mistakes as we're progressing through the demo. So let's go ahead and get started on this. And last time, remember, I had to create the folder first. So let's do week 2 CSIT 316 for our folder, and then let's go ahead and start up our NetBeans. And we're gonna create our project in that folder. And it looks like we got a few that I gotta clean up here. Okay, there's our first week. Let's just go ahead and open. Not that. Okay, there we go. Oh no, not open. Create.
From Badass.
Excuse me. Please ignore it, Alexa. Okay, so we've got.
Here you go.
Computer stop. All right. Now that Alexa's under control, let's begin.
Under Control by Calvin Harris.
Oh my God. This has got to be on like the greatest hits. Stop. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start with creating a folder. I created a folder on the desktop here, and I called it Week 2 CSIT 316. And now I'm going to go ahead and get into NetBeans and create a project for our exercise 3-1. And we'll go to New Project, and we're going to choose PHP Application. Next. Let's give it a decent name. Let's see, I think we already did that. CSIT week 2. And let's just call this PRJ for the project. And let's put it in the folder that we created, and that way everything will be nice and neat and set up properly, so we won't have too much junk lying around. Okay. Use your regular encoding, the most up-to-date PHP version. Go to next. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we do want the project URL to go to our local host at that rep directory. We're going to copy, and we're going to have to create a folder for this project. And we'll do it under the www. It doesn't look like it's going to let me do it there. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and go into our www directory and create that same folder. I thought from last time it might have automatically created it. Let's see if it'll automatically do it. If not, I could just look inside of here. Oh no, it looks like. Let's see what it does. I think I'll just go ahead and say go to www folder. Yeah, okay, it creates the folder for us. Cool. Okay. Don't do it on open, because you could crash and have a problem, so you don't want to ever do that. I think we're good. Okay, next. Don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Okay. First thing we're going to do is for our project for week 2, we're going to add a new HTML file. But we're going to call this index.php. It's not going to be an HTML file at the end. For now, it will be. So let's create a PHP file and then put in the HTML tags into it. So let's go up here, File, New File, and we're going to go with a PHP file next, and we'll call this index.php, and that's what our normal our starting script is, or page is for that folder. Okay, so we're going to finish, and then we're going to go steal some HTML tags by just chunking one in. And you notice how it automatically creates this without the ending tag. So we're just going to use this as a placeholder. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that. And then we're going to bring in the stuff from the book. So I'm going to go ahead here, new file, and we're going to do some of this static. So we're going to go ahead and steal some HTML code because I'm too lazy to write it all out. And by the way, if you never knew before, a good programmer is a lazy programmer. Horrible but true, because back when IBM first started out, they actually used to pay their programmers by line of code. So you had these really horrible programs that were so cluggy that didn't work really well because programmers were paid by lines of code. So that looks like our last one. You know what? We can just steal this. Why didn't I think about that? Jeez. But a lazy programmer will find ways to write the least amount of code, which means it's more efficient and it runs better and there's less bugs. So lazy programmer, good programmer. Okay, it looks like we got our typical script ready to go and work on. Let me go ahead and get this so that you guys can view it a little bit better here. I believe it's Control Shift or something like that. There it is. It's alternate to zoom in with the mouse wheel. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the assignment itself, and then start working through it. If I can get the right web page up here. Just ignore my flash of emails, please. Okay, so we got the assignment we need, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. We got our project going. We're going to go ahead and open up our books to 3-1. And go ahead and get to work on that assignment. So we got our web page ready to go, and now all we need to do is follow the instructions. Looks like they want us to throw in an H1 tag. Let's go ahead and just throw that in there. Looks like you probably want it right here. Oops, wrong copy. Let's go back. Oh, that's right. I got to do this special little thing. Selection copy to clipboard. Okay. Did not like Control C. Okay. So one thing you probably want to do for this course is have an electronic document, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth between the exercises. Make sure you go through the tutorials in the chapter first before you do the exercises. Don't cheat like I am. I've already been through those and read through it all. I expect you guys to read the chapters and go through those tutorials, and then do your exercises. Let's get on to the next instruction. Okay, so we got our script section, and now we're going to get the rest of the code that we need. We're going to actually create an array of credit card values, and we're going to use this array, and we're going to use it to essentially validate credit card numbers. And you would also use this for validation. We're using the regular expression to validate credit card numbers. So we got to come up with a rule to figure that out, and I'll get it all plugged in, and I'll probably leave you with that, coming up with the actual regular expression that does the work. But let's get it all together and working, and leave you with something that you can work with and continue on with. So let's go ahead and throw in our code that they want us to put in. In fact, we could probably do this a lot quicker by just grabbing everything and taking out what we don't want. So let's go ahead and grab those guys, and then we'll come down and grab this. And then let's talk about the code here, as we're getting it in there. Okay, so we got our credit card array. Then we have a for each statement. I'm not a fan of for each because they're terribly inefficient. And I'm not a fan of this style of doing things either, but I won't complain if you do, because that's with web programming. The lines get to be such a nightmare that anything to reduce it is almost okay, but still, when I'm developing, I don't reduce until after I'm done writing the code. Then if I want to reduce the lines, I'll do those little tricky thingamajiggers. Okay, so if this is our first validation, if the card number is empty, then we're going to echo that it's invalid. And it looks like we've got a few little issues here with with some of the syntax. All right, so probably don't need the. I think we just have that. So for each credit card, okay, and if the card is empty, simple validation. We create the credit card array. Let's get that all nice and neat. Oh, jeez. Sometimes, it gets to be a nightmare when you're doing your indenting. Okay, that's kind of the way I like it. That's pretty close to the way I like to do things. That way it's easy to see your scope, so that you don't have too much out of scope. Okay, that's our beginning. So we have our credit card array that we're going to use for validation for the assignment, and then we're going to then check each of those credit card numbers for the credit card. So remember, for each works there that there's a credit card variable that runs through and makes itself equal to every credit card number in the list. Meaning the first credit card will be that, and that, and then that. So we look at each one, and if it's empty, we say it's invalid. But we're not done, because we gotta use a regular expression to truly check this properly. And in fact, that's what you would do if you were building this. Is you would go and I wouldn't develop my own regular expression for this. I would go find some examples and some tried and true, and do some research on people who have done certain things and have had problems with it, and make sure that the regular expression you finally choose has been in some way tested by the community at large. So let's go ahead and get back to our instructions. It looks like we have our else statement here, because this is where we need to do our regular expression check. Because, first check is just, hey, is it empty? There's nothing there. Well, I don't need to check for nothing. So that's our first check. Our next check is going to be the regular expression check. And we're going to use the function. But we're going to also look into some other things here, such as some simple checks, such as making some changes on how a user enters the number by replacing dashes with nothing, essentially. So let's look at how this behaves and how this code is meant to work, and then we'll continue on. All right. It looks like this is doing some simple checks on this. Okay, there's the syntax I don't like, and then it's adding stuff for me. All right. I need another little squiggly here. Oh, wrong squiggly. Right squiggly. Okay. Credit card number, if it sees anything inappropriate, such as dashes, it replaces it with nothing. If it sees a space, it replaces it with nothing. Some of the simple checks. Another one check that I would also do is probably trim the front and trim the end for a space, and then you would go into, hey, is there numbers? Is it numeric? And if it's not, then you've got a problem with the credit card. So then let's continue on, and I'm hoping they get actually a regular expression in here sometime. It might be just to warm you up for one. So in that case, let's. We'll actually implement one. Okay. So, all right. Let's cut. It looks like, yeah, they're just getting you ready for one. No, we're gonna keep going. We're going until we actually get a regular expression working. So we'll keep going into the hair. As soon as I can copy this code, uh, and then we'll move on. So this is the old school method of testing. And then let's get it actually working. Okay. And it looks like I've got some kind of weird character in here that's causing me to have comments commented out over here or something. Doesn't look like it's there. Oh, yeah. Okay. That needs to go together. Okay. Well, sometimes you get these weird ghosts. Sometimes you have to just get rid of everything. I bet you it's that last echo. Yeah, it's not closing. There we go. Okay. We gotta close this house. And this house is closed. Well, let's look at it. If, okay, for each, that one's open. Now you can see they line up. You click one of the braces and it'll highlight over there. That's pretty much most of the IntelliSense. There's that one. And then there's that one. I bet you know what? Let's not push it. Yeah, let's go ahead and put those in. And I'm gonna cheat on these ones and do the finger breaking offense and just throw it in there instead of doing all this special stuff. Okay. That is our example program. So now we're ready to go ahead and test. By the way, when you set up XEdebug, you have to do it here through here. And I may take some time where we do that later in the course. Okay, so line 27 looks like is a problem. Line 27. Oh yeah, my little issue with the echo is not closing up. Should have done that. All right, I'm going to pause and come back with the solution. Well, that one was an easy fix. I'm just missing a semicolon. Okay, so old school credit card authentication. Okay, so let's skip ahead in the exercises and let's see where we can actually implement the regular expression for this. So let's go ahead and so we got the old school method up. Let's see where we actually start to use it. Okay. So this looks like we are in exercise 3.2. Have they started to use the regular expression? Well, let's look at 3.1 and make sure that we're done with that one. I'm thinking that we're missing something. Oh, the heck with it. Let's just throw it in our own regular expression and just build it and screw with what the book's got. You guys go ahead and continue on with it. There should be like somewhere in here where we got an example of regular expression being used. And why don't I go ahead and get the code for implementing the regular expression for our example ready to go, and I'll come back. So yeah, sure enough, as soon as I hit pause at on the page I'm on, here's our code that we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this code, this regular expression match function, and we're going to implement it for our credit card numbers. And if I can actually get in here and copy this code, I just want this, really. Let's just grab the heck with it. Let's just write the code. Like with copying. Okay, so this is probably where we want to do our match for our 3-1. I don't think you have to do this for your actual assignment though. This is just to get you going with the old school method. So for 3-1, it's actually done. But you're going to be implementing similar items as this in your exercises coming up to work with regular expressions. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use that function preg match. And you can see we've got some pop-ups for our string pattern and subject. One other thing I want to kind of make sure that you know is that when you're working with PHP, and you're always going to be using functions that are continually being updated and renamed. So the functions that you come upon may have a different slightly name that's been updated, and the functions that you are using could be what we call deprecated. Looks like we're and you guys will see actually some deprecated functions coming up where we actually have to update from the book. Okay, so the first thing is, the in the regular expression is essentially what. Well, actually, we can just kind of see right here everything that we need, I think. But let's go ahead and do some research on this and bring up at least something for that preg match function that we can use a little bit more solidly. And that's why I like the PHP manual. This one I use all the time, and it's really helpful to get up to date on documents, to keep track of changes in the functions. Also, regular expressions don't really get changed or updated much. The main functions that do get changed and updated a lot are the functions that you use to connect to a database. Duh, that's probably where you want most of your updates to happen for security reasons, obviously. Okay, so we're gonna send it an argument and the pattern to search for, and then we're gonna send it an argument, the input string, and then we're going to look at the return value of essentially the matches. So that if statement will return a true or false whether it passes or not, based on your particular pattern search. So let's just test and play around with this, and what we'll do here is we've got our pattern search, we've got our function that we're going to run. We're going to pass the first argument as the pattern, and the second argument is the actual string. Yeah, pattern subject. Okay, pattern subject. So the pattern we're looking for as a string, and I think you can use double or single, so it doesn't matter. And then what we're actually looking at, and that's the credit card number. Now the pattern that we're looking at, that we're going to set here, is going to be for all numerical values, but let's just play around with it first, and let's look at how we can set a regular expression just to check for alpha or numeric. That's it. Let's just do that. Alpha or numeric regular expression. So let's go ahead and go back to your book and review that a bit. Actually, you know what? Let's just give some examples of regular expressions. Regular expression examples, and we're going to use it for just testing, and we're going to get it working. And then once we get it working, I'm going to leave it all to you guys. Oh, this is cool. Matches any string that begins with dog. Okay, so here's some basic examples of matches any string that contains gray or whatever. Here's dog. Let's see. You know what? We should do a search for regular expression alpha numeric. How about just regular expression for numeric? Numeric. And you're probably going to want to allow the dashes though. So you would modify your regular expression to do that. Here, regex for numbers and number range. Okay, so in this article, so for let's say if you want to match any number from 1 to 100, you write regex for. Oh, okay. So any number from 1 to 100. Match any number from 1 to 9. Okay. How about just any number? You know what? Let's just test this one. Yeah, okay. Oh, wait. That's kind of cool. Now let's keep down and look at for more examples. I kind of... Okay, let's do regular expression, credit card number check. Let's try that one. Finding or verifying credit card numbers. Regular expressions. Okay, cool. So it looks like we have a regular expression for Visa here. Let's do that one. Hopefully I've got it right. Okay. There's our regular expression. There's what we're matching it with. This is the data that we're checking it with. Let's put an A in here. Okay, so first one will be first one invalid, second one valid, third one invalid. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, looks like we've got a problem with my regular expression that I'm having. Probably because I don't need a specific line 22. Yeah, that would be it. No ending delimiter. Okay. Let's look at the regular expression again. Oh, $. Looks like I copied it from the wrong spot. Okay, it looks like that beginning has to have the $sign as an N based on the regular expression rules. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause and I'm going to fix it. And we'll come back and I'll tell you what's wrong. Okay, so I found a cool website that's new to me. And that is Regex Buddies Library. So it looks like we got our own little ability to work with regular expressions in a program that's available to you, or can be available to you to use, that you may want to work towards, especially if regular expressions really kind of float your boat. Some people really get into this because it's kind of the first step in security. So I wanted to show you that, and I'm going to continue to find a good regular expression for us to use for testing. Okay, so yeah, it's been a while for me doing PHP and credit cards. I forgot the regular expressions actually need a beginning and an ending delimitator. So you got to put the backslash in the front and the backslash at the end of your regular expression. And that begins and ends your regular expression within your string. So this will now run appropriately for our testing purposes. Now it looks like I'm testing for Visa. So it looks like you have to have for Visa, the first set of numbers have to be, what was it? It was all Visa card numbers start with a 4. Okay, so let's see if we can't get a positive. If not, we're just going to call it good. Let's go up here to this one that's actually good. This one right here, let's put a 4 right here. And let's see if that one test is positive. Oh, cool. It worked. So our first credit card number is a valid credit card number. Now, I think what you can do is you can actually take this whole chunk that they have here as an example for all of them. And I think you can just take this whole thing and copy that sucker in and have it work. Because you just got these OR statements in there. These OR. So you can use the OR and bitwise logical operators with your regular expressions. Let's see if it'll allow us to do this, but it might not. We might need to run the regular expression function for each of these with the OR statement. But I don't, we'll see. I doubt it will. But I could be surprised. But I don't think I will be. Okay, let's do this. And that. Ha! Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so that will do all credit card numbers. That wasn't too bad. We got that done. We got our script for our website to validate all credit card numbers within a 40-minute video. Not too bad, guys. Okay, so I've got you a good starting point. You're going to get in and understand a little bit more about regular expressions. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Because as you see, I don't remember that stuff. I go in and I grab examples and already tested regular expressions that work. And when you get into your own validation of regular expressions for like a workforce or a work group, that's when you get into your regular expression design, and that will be done by a whole group. And then you will test. You'll come up with your regular expression, and you will thoroughly test it. You can also use those tools out there that I previously showed you to that for that testing purpose. So there's a lot that goes into regular expressions, and they're a very important tool in your arsenal. So get used to using them. So as we progress further in the quarter, you're going to be doing, you're going to be building your own login password form, so that you can start building your own database supported websites or server sided websites, portals, or whatever you want to call them. I like to call them our own little mini Facebooks. But I got you a good start, and I think we hit all the main points for module 2, chapter 3. Thank you.